So up next, we have a little bit of a different presentation. When I was trying to put this whole day together, one of the things that came to mind for me was biometrics. So that's mapping your face. So I reached out to a couple companies, and this one got back to me, and they were willing to share some stuff with us today. So I'm going to pass this off to Richard Carriere. Hope I said that right. Richard, are we on? Got no audio.
Now it should work now that I unmute them.
There we go.
Okay, good. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Richard Carriere. I'm head of CyberLink for the Americas. I'm head of global marketing for this company. You might have heard or not about CyberLink. We're a technology company that has been in existence for over 25 years now. Initially in technologies for digital media. So if you've used a Windows PC in your life, you've used some of our software to play back videos, to edit videos, photos, evolved into apps. We have mobile apps that do anywhere from photo, video editing, playback, to streaming, to augmented reality, which brought us eventually to pay a lot of attention to AI and how face needs to be mapped. One little aside, which is a company we spun off a few years ago now, was an inroad in the digital makeup space. So we have an app that's called UCam Makeup that was spun off with a company that allows people to preview how makeup looks on them in a virtual way, like they're looking in a magic mirror. This thing has something like 1.2 billion installations, I think, by today. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is that we needed very quickly to develop an algorithm that works perfectly to recreate makeup that looks real, that doesn't look like a clown is being created. It needs to work on a computer, but mostly on a smartphone, which might or might not be connected to the web. Therefore, it needs to be able to run at the edge, if not on the cloud. So with all that, we took that technology and we packaged it in a solution called FaceMe, which is a series of things that go from just engine to do facial recognition to SDK, for those who are familiar with the lingo, so a software development kit. It's essentially lines of code that anyone who code can bring into their programs to bring the capabilities. We also created a few plug and play product solutions, one called FaceMe Security, which I would say is probably not much more difficult than installing Microsoft Office on a PC or workstation nowadays, and can sometimes in half a day connect into the video management system of any organization of any size. And suddenly you don't need to use necessarily keys or key cards to access the facilities. You can monitor blacklisted people, etc. So this is kind of the things that we've been doing in the past 2.5 years that the technology has been in existence. So what I wanted to do, I will present a little bit on the technology, a little bit touch on the controversial topics, but in a non-controversial way, I believe, and mostly focus on a bunch of use cases that are hopefully relevant to the group here. I will reserve some time. My colleague Craig Campbell, who's our head of sales engineering, will do a demo online of the technology. There's nothing like seeing it. And from there, we'll take questions. So let me figure out how to share the right file here. Just if we give me a moment. Share should be pretty straightforward. There we go. Point, share. Oh, there we are. It's the full screen mode. Still working fine for everyone? Okay, so first, we hear all sorts of things in the news and the media about facial recognition and biometrics in general, but really there's controversy. I like to say that there's nothing more unique and precise than someone's face, and we'll explain how we make it so precise in a moment. At the same time, like if you compare to a password or a PIN or even fingerprints and the iris scan, give you an idea, facial recognition, a solution like ours can have a level of accuracy on 1 in a million chance of not recognizing the person correctly. At best, thumbprints and iris is 1 in 10,000, and I won't say for putting your date of birth as a password. So the good news, though, the bad news is that passwords, you can change them. Your face is a bit harder, although I live in California. There's a lot of doctors specialize in that, but it's a bit more challenging. So it's cool technology. Is it right? I've been asked a question a few times, and my response is, you know what? This is not new. It started with Prometheus when people discovered fire. It was very cool technology, but it had some issues. And there were the doomsday sayers existing already at the time. They said, no, this cannot be right, so we cannot use that, which is always the case when there's new technology, and which is not a bad thing because they force companies like us to address issues that are problematic. 2 years ago, we talked about facial recognition problems around bias for people of different ethnic background or different skin complexion or gender. And these issues, by and large, have been solved by companies thanks to the tools we have today, thanks to AI, thanks to hardware technology becoming faster, cheaper. So this has been addressed. Now, technology is right, but how about the application, right? There's also controversy there. So how can we make sure that it's turned into cool application? And there again, and bear with me, I won't be too long with these philosophical questions, but I thought it would be interesting to set the ground rules. So we've all heard about this expression, the pen is mightier than the sword. And this is true in the case of facial recognition. You can put it to use for good things. I'll give you one of the most interesting examples. Cybersecurity is headquartered in Taiwan. And there we are working with the local police across the country. So every citizen, whether through their ID card or driver's license, are connected to police database, and the cops, the patrols use on the cell phone access to that database. So when they go and interact with the citizen, they know who they are. They know if it's a dangerous criminal, which in Taiwan, these are very rare. But mostly the number one use case is elderly people who have some mental issues, Alzheimer's, dementia, who leave their senior living facility without any piece of ID. And the number one use case is police officers who bring them back to their home in these cases. So it can really be very powerful, and it can be saving lives. Of course, there are uses that are more controversial. But very often they're not about the technology, they're about how it's applied, and I'll touch on that. And final thing in the philosophical areas, you look at those who are familiar with the Gartner hype cycle, you look for artificial intelligence specifically, there's a bunch of things that are happening now, but you see that, and you're still in what we call the trough of disillusion around things like edge AI and machine learning, intelligent application. But we're starting here, I would say, look at computer vision, which is really where facial recognition sits in all these technologies. We're on the slope of enlightenment now. So we're getting there, and applications have been booming. In fact, to our surprise, a whole lot more than we thought they would since, let's say, this summer. So the world has started to reopen. I'll show you use cases where the benefits are so obvious that users they adapt it. So that's something that we'll see. So basically, facial recognition is cool, it's getting right. Talk limitations, the technologies that have been addressed for the most part. Solution that's suited for some of the biggest challenges that the society has at the moment. We talk about labor shortage. We talk about the supply chain breach, about different issues that all are being back to we need technology to make things work. And we need technology to automate. We can only find so many people. And this is really what it's about. The issues such as data breaches and system failures are probably the biggest ones, right? The moment that someone's identity is in a database to their face, what could happen if it gives us access to everything? How can it be protected? Well, it's a database issue, not a facial recognition issue. That's an easy answer, but obviously it's not that simple. And there are ways to protect data from facial recognition, even in a database that is not so secure. And obviously legislation cannot miss the train in this case. This is probably the biggest issue that would affect you, especially the state of Illinois. One day I was quite pleased and intrigued when I got invited to speak in a state where the legislation makes it a bit less easy than in other parts of the country or parts of the world. I know it's being adopted in the right place, the right way. Okay. Facial recognition, for those who are not sure, like I went to the good old Webster dictionary. It's a biometric identification by scanning a person's face, matching it against a library of known faces. It's pretty basic. Now, the application, and I was saying, the biggest problem is how data is preserved. If you have faces of everyone, the actual picture next to all their access info, take hotel chains or Equifax, not to name them, who have had very publicized data leaks. Often they have all that information already, and that could be problematic. But if instead of a face, what you have is a highly encrypted tiny file of zeros and ones that maps the vectors on the face, and this is really what our technology like ours and the good ones are doing, then even in the database, it's very unlikely that people with bad intentions would be able to decrypt the facial template. And therefore, yes, they would still have everything else about you. Don't get us wrong. Like if it's a hotel chain, your address, your social, your credit card, and name it. But the facial recognition, there are ways to protect it, and good solutions address that. That's no problem. The key features of facial recognition, and again, I'm talking about good best practice solutions, is it all starts with image pre-processing. Facial recognition is a pure software technology, but it needs to rely on hardware of a different quality, especially in legacy systems. If we come install FaceMe Security, let's say at the local, the state capital for everything, I'm sure that not all IP cameras were installed last month. Some of them might be a bit older, some of them might be in dusty places. So this can all, and sometimes it needs to be addressed from a hardware perspective, but already from a software, there are technologies, and we have some that will help clean the image, that will help increase resolution, will fix lighting issues. So if you are in a very bright spot, somebody with a very fair skin like me, chances are that the level of precision for my recognition will be as good as somebody who has a bit of a darker skin. And the other way around, if it's very dark or dark at night, you have the same problem. So how can we fix it? Good solutions have that. Then from the moment you do that, you need to detect a face. Our solution, I think the moment you have 70 pixels, and Craig will correct me if I'm wrong when he does his demo, you can see, oh, here's a person, here's 10 people. That room, that's the hall of a train station, is 300 people. The capacity is 200. Maybe we should do something about it. Then there's a face extraction and match. Now people need to be closer, and Craig will show in the demo. And from there, this is where you extract vectors that go essentially between the eyes and all the way to the mouth, and create that template. Once you have that, then you can do a match and say, okay, this is Richard or this is not Richard. Facial attributes are a big deal when it comes to statistics or some interactive situations where we can estimate in a pretty good level of accuracy, at least for a group of people. We talk about aggregate data, age, gender, the facial expression. So are people overall happy or distressed? This, of course, this is where we get in the sensitive areas of legislations. I would say our clients or customers who implement things like that, it's purely data aggregation. They don't have systems that keep individual information unless people agree upfront to be part of a study or employees in a company that agree to that. So this is where application is more important than just technology. One thing very important that has been problematic is anti-spoofing. You put in front of somebody of a camera video from a phone or something, or an image. If it can be spoofing the system, then it's pretty weak. Or even those of you who are my age or around it might remember a movie called Face Off back in the days, where there was like Nicolas Cage or John. Anyway, somebody was putting a mask, the face of the other on his face, and he was able to be recognized. So these things can be solved. In fact, that last one, we were just in the top 3 worldwide of 260 plus companies who submitted their algorithm to IEEE's latest computer vision conference. And there was a Russian and a Chinese company that was slightly better than us, but we were able to detect 97% of people going all the way to creating a face mask that's very realistic. So that's something that's important. And finally, mask detection, recognition of people wearing masks. Those of you who use iPhones like I do, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, we need good solutions that need to be able to recognize people with very high level of precision, even if the only thing visible is the bridge of your nose and the eye area. We're like that. So if Tim Cook by any chance is watching today, Mr. Cook, we have a solution for your iPhone that will make your customers happy. Okay, so what to expect from the tools? Good, and here I'm benchmarking, it's a bit self-serving obviously, but it is around where a solution like ours is the accuracy and the security aspect. So you have, in a case like ours, over 99% accuracy when people don't wear a mask, maybe 98% when wearing a mask. I think solutions like the phones from Mr. Cook's company have about 95% accuracy, which would explain why about 1 time out of 20 attempts you need to try again or enter a code. When you are at 99% or 99.7, like a solution, it means that it's very rare that you need to do again. So when you enter a facility, a building, you don't bang your face against a glass door, it opens for you. False recognition risk, 1 in a million, is the risk that somebody who is not you is recognized as you. So 1 in a million, it's pretty good. And spoof attempts, I would say best practice companies now, they detect about 95%. But assuming that the percentage of attempts of all the access or whatever it is, access to the tentatives, that would be by people who want to spoof to start with, and then only 5% of them succeed. It's pretty good. It beats any security guard, even the best ones. Solutions must be cross platforms. I'm sure you have all sorts of platforms and they need to communicate together. So in our case, we cover pretty much everything. And also they need to be designed for different environments, whether it's PC, mobile, at the edge, on the cloud, and can connect to any cameras. And technologies today are there for the most part. Now, is it ready for prime time? Absolutely. The algorithms are good. It's improved. AI makes things improve very fast. And this is how we have several applications already when it happens. And you're using it if you're using the iPhone, if you're using Clear, if you're using Global Entry, and never mind a bunch of other things. If you walk at Walmart, they have a facial recognition for blacklisted people and shoplifters, and they haven't had too much problems because people feel safe. So these things exist already. Chipset, hardware, all the manufacturers there are jumping on this opportunity. So things that were not possible a year ago are possible today. And what is not possible today, give them 6 months and they will fix it. We even have installation now in cameras that have smart chips in them. So you don't even need a computer. All you need is we install that camera wherever it is. It could be a wireless with a solar cell and battery and cellular communication to connect into the server where you have all the data. For example, a big industrial plant, a big storage facility in the state, or transportation assets. So you can have things very far at the edge. The issues of the past years have been resolved. I was talking about skin complexion, gender, faces that are partially obstructed, the spoofing. These things are really being addressed. But doomsday sayers have not finished their job, and that we have to recognize. Data to train models, and I'm not trying to pick on other companies, but there's been issues where the data that's used to create the AI models is not data that is fully in the public domain or intended for very broad usage. So somebody using their customers' user data to improve the model, they get in trouble. So you need to be careful in the solution you choose. Look at who is providing that. User data and privacy. There are companies that do things that are very far from the reason why you put your pictures on Facebook or Instagram. And it's a bit scary when they aggregate all the information about you from different sources to create a profile and then they resell. It can be very useful, and I'm sure there's people from public safety who are meeting, these companies very well, including the one that's named here, and they serve a very good purpose to help public safety. At the same time, there needs to be some guardrails that might or might not be there. I would say this is not something that we are touching ourselves. I had a discussion with our CEO last week, and we had opportunities to go in places and say, not quite this example, but said, Richard, I don't want our company to be associated with killing people, so let's not do that. And you have to respect. In fact, on our website, we added a statement of human rights at about the same time as we went live with FaceMe to state very clearly that across the world we are respectful of these and we respect the UN principles. I would say when you look for a vendor for these kind of technologies, you should look for these little details that not necessarily jump in your face. And finally, there's the user results. And here, I don't want to pick an NYPD, but that was the headline, is as anything, facial recognition provides an amazing source of evidence for or against a certain case, but it's not the only proof. So it's probably better than a wall where people line up, and statistically, I think it's provable, but it's still a technology that doesn't supersede human judgment and capabilities. So that's the areas I would say that I want to clear right out. So let's see about some cool applications. And I have several case studies. I could have even more that we've seen. Every time we talk to a client, we meet a new system integrator, a new OEM, IoT manufacturer, we find new uses for the technology. But essentially, there's three big buckets that are relevant, we believe, in public sector, is automation, user experience. Labor crunch is real. It's not going to be solved. So you need, in order to eliminate bottlenecks and continue to serve the public, you need to automate everywhere, and this thing is accelerating. You might feel it. I was at a conference, not a conference, an executive retreat 2 weeks ago. It was touching the retail hospitality industry, and they're suffering so much already that no, they're not getting rid of the employees. And in your sector, it's probably the same. They say they have good employees. We just want to empower them with technology so that the tasks that don't need them are automated, but where they are needed, technology also gives them the information. For example, who is this person walking into the library or the DMV, so that we serve them better as they walk in. Health and safety, I don't need to say anything else. You know what I'm talking about. It's in the headlines every day, if not every hour. And then security and asset protection is also a big deal. Nowadays, people go into warehouses, let's say where you have parts for trucks and trains, just because you know what, these catalytic converters have precious metals, and they have all sorts of new things. How can you make it efficient? And there again, with labor crush, you cannot necessarily have human security guards everywhere anymore, but technology can help. A few facts. it's interesting we look at surveys, and this was the top statistics. It's a survey that not quite a year old, but I think it's still valid. It was from the SIA, Security Industry Association, where they surveyed the US public. And it said at the time, just a year ago, 60% of Americans support facial recognition overall. So like, oh, well, we're in big trouble. 40% are against it. 78% believes it can improve security system. 68% think it can make society safer. So you say, okay, at least we're close to 70% who think it can be helpful, although they don't, a bit less people support. Reality, I think numbers are higher than that when you go away from the surveys. When things are convenient and trusted by users, they are used. I have yet to find an iPhone user who turned off their face login. Global entry, whoever can get that. Clear kiosks for those who travel in airports, but also they start to appear in stadium entrances and different facilities. I was talking about Walmart and security. Where these things are convenient, they happen. As the Atlanta airport, I think now they have a pilot project with Delta where people can go from the curbside to their seat, just using facial recognition, walking through, never talking or interacting with a human, just going through a few turnstiles and kiosks. And in 5 minutes, they can be sitting and enjoying their whatever is to be enjoyed on a plane. So issues due to COVID, so health checks, it's an obvious one. When you have to make sure in some areas and variants keep popping up that, okay, for a while you don't need to wear the mask or something. Oh, now you need again. Measuring body temperature, it comes and goes. So the technology can help do that. We can connect solutions to thermal cameras, match the face, and I'll see how it works. Physical contacts, like the things that can be measured, how many people in some areas, bottlenecks at checkpoints. One example that I like to bring that is not necessarily directly related to your activities, but it's big factories. We have customers in Asia, manufacturing is a big deal. Factory, in some case, they have 20,000 employees, which until implementing facial recognition for employees, time and attendance and verification. So they walked in with their safety equipment, the masks, everything. There was a bottleneck, a queue of about half an hour before getting to work. But even worse, at the end of a long day, you want to leave, go home. It was another half hour to leave the place. They installed a series of lanes with cameras. Now it's like going to the fast track and the freeway. You just walk through. And employees that are exception case, this is where you have message that goes to a monitor, a smartphone, and then employees for security, health safety can go and just verify who they are. But we went from 30 minutes to 0-minute bottleneck. Now, think of turnstiles, trains at bus stations, think of access to any government services, and think of the employees also coming in and out. So these are the kinds of things that are real today and can help. So illustrative cases, very specific. We'll touch on security, access control, health and safety, automation, user experience. The overall facility surveillance. So you can integrate facial recognition into existing systems. Most of the facilities that are under the umbrella here of Illinois GIS, I'm sure you have video management systems, and there are solutions, a handful of those, including our solution FaceMe Security, that you can connect directly into the VMS. I would say it takes about half a day. Craig, who's a bit more honest, would say maybe a couple of days, but basically you connect this, you scan the database of, let's say, your employees, you have a system for enrollment for your visitors, and assuming they opt in to have their face as an access means, so you still need obviously to keep the other things, but from there, it's all there. So you can have on-premise perimeter security, visitor management, so you know when there's a visitor who they are in advance and they're pre-checked. If not, you don't need to have them waiting in line to have the picture taken and the badge printed. They can just go around where they need to. Statistics is a big deal, and this can be very precise. You have employee access monitoring, time and attendance. So the moment employee gets in front of the door, door opens and they say, okay, employee is there, they're starting their day, or now they're leaving, or they are in that secure area that has toxic products. They should not be there for more than 20 minutes. It's been half an hour. Let's go see if they're still alive. Blacklisted alerts. So people who are the most dangerous criminals or for some reason need to be tagged can be done in a very humane way. So security guards just have their photo location and they go talk to them and not alert the entire things. So it's good. Health screening, so we could have all and highlight the faces of whoever has elevated body temperature or not wearing masks if it's needed, and people count. So these are all things that you can do pretty easily in terms of implementation. And if we take as an example, FaceMe Security is a plug-and-play software that you install. It's on at the edge on workstations and PCs, and depending on what you have, it can be anywhere from a small PC to small facilities. Those who are familiar with NVIDIA Jetson, for example, not to name it, it's a few $100s, little box that you can place everywhere, but it could be a good old i5 PC. But then if you have 300 cameras with a few thousand people every minute from the cameras, let's say every hour, every minute is a bit much, then you might want to have a nice workstation or two at the server room. And that's what you have. And then we can add, we have a bunch of add-ons for secure health, which is masks and temperature. We have some monitoring system that can be used. So if you don't have a VMS, but still want to have the multi-screens, and that's what you have at the edge, wherever you want. On premise, you have a server with the database, enrollment of users, things of that nature. And then all you do, you connect your IP camera network, and this can be done in minutes sometimes. And you want to integrate when you have already systems, whether it's VMS, real-time alerts with smart devices, the door lock systems to open and lock the doors. And that's one of the easiest things to implement. So everything connects there, either through APIs or through things embedded. And this is where you go, like visitor check-in, people show up to the right people, they are validated, so it's not a problem. Video monitoring and recording. So we kind of coined the term VMR instead of VMS, video management system. We have a solution that can help record things for users later and do the monitoring if in any computer screen and tells you what happens. Security health check. So is the person wearing their mask over their nose and mouth properly? Body temperature. That's right. Let's say employees, I don't know how it is in Illinois, but employees who have been vaccinated for COVID, they don't have to wear masks at work, but those who have not have to, based on data that they would supply to the employer, and then you can detect who is doing things right or wrong. And Street CMS, Craig can explain to that, but essentially we can connect easily in different systems. I put a few names there, there's more, but anywhere from the system with the physical map to follow people, to the different camera, to the people as they go through the facilities. We have a solution called U Alerts, which is a smartphone application that would provide alerts, let's say, for VIP visitors, registered visitors, employees who spend too much time in the room that has these gases to purify the water at the municipal level. Blacklisted people will show up and things of that nature. So it can be customized. In fact, you can customize your own categories of people based on different rules. And it's that simple, like people is detected, when there needs to be alerts, there's notification where they are, and it happens in real time. So instead of having security people everywhere waiting for things to happen and potentially, I don't know if, in fact, I don't know if it's a myth, and the movies, they're always watching the basketball game on the screen number 5 instead of watching what it is. I'm sure it's not the case, but these are things where now you're sure when something happens, the right people gets alerted immediately. So it reduces the time to get things secured and making sure we protect everyone, including the person who's detected, who maybe they don't even know they are in a place they should not be. And kiosks are everywhere. So for everything, we're running out of labor everywhere. So that's something that you see more and more. And you can personalize the experience the moment somebody shows up, and assuming they enroll. Everything is personalized. You can check out and pay. In fact, there are solutions, and we have one that can match, validate ID, validate the person in real time, so you can go directly do your business without any human interactions. For example, you might have noticed hotels, sometimes you do online check-in, but you still need to show your ID to a real person because there are still procedures to validate what it is.
Boogie.
Yep.
I'm tired. Sorry to hear that.
Hopefully, everyone is okay here. I will continue. Okay. Passenger check-in, in the case of train stations, airports, you've probably seen some of it already. So the face is the ID. As I was saying, in fact, the Atlanta airport now, they have that process. I can't wait to test it for myself. Loyalty programs, everything can happen in real time, even health checks, they can be screened throughout the process. Security control, same thing. You have ways to do it without any human interaction unless there is an exception case. Even boarding planes now, there's a few airlines, and I've been doing that for more than a year and a half. I haven't heard people saying it's terrible that we don't have to wait in line and miss our flight because of these queues, and we can go faster, convenient. Controls arrivals, same things. We see that everywhere, whether it's entry kiosks, temperature checks, health control. So you can have that in any kind of facilities. We have a client in Latin America at the moment. They're implementing solution in buses directly. So they talk about mobile needs and have everything at the edge. So it monitors the health inside the bus, the boarding. People who have the passes, just their face can let them get and pay. Control blacklisted people, their onboard surveillance and things happen, and also driver monitoring. So the driver first is the driver who should be driving. It's not somebody unknown or a driver who's replacing somebody else. So these are things that are real issues. In the case of Latin America, it's sometimes the people who are not drivers and they are taking control of the bus. So they won't, situations should be avoided. Secure area surveillance. Not everybody should be walking in the subway tunnels. But it's more than that. It could be delivery checkpoints, sign into equipment and machinery. So instead of having just a key, it knows who it is, should they do it, how much time, are they exceeding any time limits that are imposed for health and safety reasons, intruders, etc. You see the list. So there are tons of that. Facial recognition can help. Personalized service delivery. Recently, I was at the DMV. I was very happy that I made an appointment in advance, but there was still a queue there, and it was difficult when you walked in to know where you should be. So you could have facial recognition that says you have your appointment, you are there, you go through this line, and as long or as you walk in, even before getting in queue, it tells you, oh, you're Richard, you skip the line, you go there directly to counter number 5. And it would make it easier and simpler, even for people who don't have the appointment, so the queue would not be as confusing. And you can have dynamic personalization, statistics collection to improve and remove bottlenecks. Nothing would apply there, but in commercial ways, some luxury shopping brands are interested so that their self-enrolled VIP customers can be recognized and have private shoppers to help them. Or if you're working in an agency, if somebody who's a VIP, either in the government, in the administration shows up, you want to make sure that all your employees are on their best behavior, you can also do that. I won't elaborate. I'll let you make your decisions there. Digital signage is a big deal at the moment, and it's appearing everywhere. It can be a source of information, but also, I don't know how it is in your state, but it can be a source of revenues. So you can, everywhere that you have a service kiosk, now we're starting to see that with charging stations for electric cars. You can have a digital signs that are personalized based on the traffic that's there, and it brings revenues to the agency or to whoever operates them or installs them. And it is something that there's more and more demand from businesses. So something to think about in all the facilities, the places you have where you interact with people. Door access management, it's a given. So keyless entry, employee access. Are people there during the hours they should be there, the day they should be there? And you can have alerts. Time and attendance, you can have it included into the door access or the screening, or you can have individual tools. So here, an example of a terminal of a company we're working with, where you can still use the card, you can still use the biometric, like the finger and the iris, but also have facial recognition. So you can have combination of multiple factors or just one. Equipment device login, same thing. Like, is a person, should they be there using this piece of equipment? And if they're not, should there be alerts? So this is something that's very easy to integrate. We're working right now in the automotive industry with some companies to implement that in private cars. The same thing could happen into any kind of moving assets that you have. Health kiosks, so this is kind of the simple, quick, and way to do it. So in fact, we have a number of partners who have integrated the technology to health kiosks or access kiosks you can put anywhere. What you're seeing in the picture is called the Sentry Kiosks. It's from one of our partners. And not only does it measure like the health, it asks you a few questions, like if you had temperature in different places, and you can answer without touching, just by nodding or shaking your head, since we can measure motion on the face, and validating UR before it grants you access. It's implemented this in different versions at the moment in airports for employee check-in, some shopping malls, also for workers in the shopping mall, so that every day we know that when they walk in, they are the right people for security, but also they don't have body temperature that's elevated or things of that nature. So I went through a lot of examples, a bit fast because we only have so much time, and I want you to see a demo from Craig. But what we're seeing in the future is we keep having better, cheaper enabling technologies. So hardware, networks, 5G. This thing is just coming and making it easier and easier, cheaper and cheaper to implement this technology, which I must say is about one of the cheapest. Any good webcam added to any decent computer, then all you have is software to add, and you can update it and keeping it up to date for several years. So it's generally a pretty good return on investment for whoever considers that. And the solutions, they're exploding. Talk to your system integrators. They can probably give you dozens and dozens of examples. If they're not, please contact me and my colleagues will help you. Legislations and guardrails are important. We're all in favor of a solid legislative framework everywhere. So it will remove or minimize the gray areas, and where society, businesses, organizations, individuals can really benefit from the technology, it will be accessible faster, whereas those cases that should not be addressed will be blocked. So I think it's just like any technology, but we need to get there. And accelerated adoption, I mentioned COVID, but I think the ones we're seeing recently around labor shrinkage, supply chain problems, logistics, how do you deliver services, it's something that's pressing. And I don't know the cities how you're doing in Illinois, but more and more you have these self-driving, not cars, but these delivery things where you have carts delivering food or Amazon things. I don't know how you deal with that at the public safety level, but that's a good one with facial recognition. It could be important. So cool technology versus right. I think it animates the debates. It's very popular in the news. Reality is that when it's safe and you trust the supplier of a technology, I think the public is there, and we should move beyond the doomsday sayers' fears. AI, it is the biggest driver of accurate, affordable technologies of our times, I think, which help accelerate development of secure, convenient solutions. And granted, it's more complex than when the first computers were brought to the market and people would think that we would all be out of job today. It's kind of the opposite. So I think it will happen that way. At the end of the day, humans make decisions that globally make sense, but it needs to have the framework. Facial recognition is the best way to protect your private data as long as the basic security rules are followed. But as I said, it's very hard to change your face, like to change a password. And yeah, so that's where we are. So here's my info. We'll pass it on to Craig Campbell, and my colleague will give you a quick demo and for questions.
All right, thank you, Richard. I'll try and save us some time and catch up a little if we can. We'll see what we can do here. So let me go ahead and show you my desktop real quick. I want to thank you all for joining us today. So I'm going to show you a little bit here about our FaceMe SDK first. And then once I've shown you that, I'll show you how we've implemented it in one of the program we created. So you can see how it works. So this is our Windows SDK. Again, we are Windows, Android, iOS, Linux compliant, so you can run on any of those platforms. So when the developer gets our SDK, they actually get this demo app that you're seeing right here, so they can actually demo the SDK to see how it performs and meets their needs before they start their development. First thing you notice that as soon as it's downloaded and installed, it's already ready to go, grabbing any video stream and start to do analytics. So it's not trained on me, but it's already able to tell who I am as far as male, my emotion, happy, sad, surprised, the fact that I don't have a mask on, and it doesn't know who I am, right? I do have a database of people on my laptop that I did pre-trained, 2,519. None of them are me. So it's going through that database trying to find me. So let me show you how this works. Again, it was trained in the cloud on a number of images that we had purchased properly so that we can train our engine. So once you download it, all you have to do is enroll your images that you want to identify. And this can be from an image, video file, or a live stream like this. So when it's analyzing a live stream, the first thing our SDK will do is look for motion. Because if this is on the edge, you don't want to use power. If there's no motion going on, it saves you power or resources. Once it detects motion, then it looks for a face. Now, if you look in the bottom right corner here, we have our face detection engine, and it's looking for a face every 23 to 30 milliseconds. Now, once it detects a face, you can tell it to stop looking if you want, again, to save resources, or in our case, like we're doing, it's constantly looping around looking for a face. Now, once it finds a face, then it's going to go to our facial extraction model. We have 3 different models. We have a high model, very high, and ultra high. High is good for mobile phones, tablets. Very high is very good for tablets and PCs, and then ultra high would be server solutions. So when I use a facial ID extraction model, what it's going to do is once it detects a face, it's going to map my face just on the inside here. We don't care about the hair, the ears, beard, or anything like that. We're just mapping your face in here for vector points. It's going to be over 100 vector points that we're mapping, and we're going to save this to a template. That template can be anywhere from 300 bytes in size to 6 kilobytes per size. In this case, I'm using very high model, so this is going to be 4 kilobytes per template, per image that I can convert to a template. So you can imagine 6 million people can easily fit on a mobile phone with that. So once I've got that template, the next thing it's going to do is try and match to the database. So it's trying to match it 1.8 to 3 milliseconds. Again, I've got 2,500 faces is in there, and it's going through that database every 41 to 36 milliseconds trying to find a match. I'm not in there. And then last, it's showing you down here is the pixel size of my face. So when I move back, you can see my face in pixel size decreases. Now this comes into play because to identify that there's a face there, I need a minimum of 40 pixels just between the eyes. That's just to see if there's a face there. To identify who you are, male, female, age, gender, all that, I need 80 pixels between the eyes. So when I stand up here, you can see I've got a photo. Photo's too small, but I'm moving forward. They can tell male, female. Start moving back. At some point, my face will become too small, so it cannot be seen, just like this photo, right? Can't be detected as a face anymore. So the size of the face, the resolution of the camera, and the distance all come into play. Of course, cameras these days have the ability to zoom out, so you can still detect people from very far distances with that information. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and enroll myself. I can enroll from an image, live photo. I'm going to start from an image, so I'm going to grab it from a file. So under our pictures, I'll go to an enrollment folder. And in here, I have a folder of an image of me back when I was a lot younger than I am today. So as it does, we're going to grab those photos, decode them, and create templates from them. So out of 17 images, I've created a template from all those. And I've saved it to my database, which is going to update now. It's 2519. Now it's updated to 2536. And you just saw it flash with my identity there. So that is me when I was in high school in 1984. I'm with my glasses on. It's having a little trouble, but take them off. Confidence level 72% that is me. And this is, you know, with a confidence level I've set right now at 1 in a million, right? So that means I need to be around 72 or higher on that for confidence on there. I can go 1 in 100,000, that would be more like 70, 71%. 1 in E, that would be 70% exactly. 1 in 1,000, more like, you know, 69% confidence level. So all that is being detected from that one image I enrolled myself from. Let me do a photo quality check on that image so you can see what I did. So this is that single image I enrolled myself in. It's not the best quality, it's grainy, we wouldn't normally recommend it, but it's passed. But that's from that one single image, right? And it's still be able to tell my age, gender, and gender, we're usually within about 5 years if you're 18 years and older. We do not have anyone under 18 years enrolled for images. How that comes into play, right? If I were to go in here and do a face comparison, say, you know, I've got some pictures of when I was younger, right? So let me do this funny hair there and do when I was in college, just graduation, right? So between those two, we got a 45% match versus say me today, you know, we got only a 15% match, right? Whereas if I do him with him, again, 2 young kids, I can do a match, not a problem, right? Matching is not a problem in that. Getting the age also on there, you know, I can do an age on me, not a problem, but if I do it on a young kid, more than likely anything below 20, we're just not going to be able to determine the age on that. So you can see 20 or less is what we guessed at. You can see it's definitely under 20, right? Versus say myself today where we're giving you an age. You know, let me go back to the camera so you can see how it's giving me my age, unfortunately. So that's from that one image now. So let me enroll with a more recent image, and it's saying my age is anywhere from 45 to 60. I am 55 today. So let me do a proper enrollment today. So now with this, I'm going to grab my images. I grab my front one, grab my profile up there and down below. Now we only need one image, as you saw, to identify a person, even if it's an old image, but we recommend up to 5 images. So this one's is a moneymaker. I've got all 5 vector points, left to right. If I walk to the left or right of a profile of a camera, if I walk up to an ATM laptop, this would be the best shot. If I walk underneath the camera mounted high, like an IP camera. So let me call him Tel. So you can see Tel's identified 100% there with all those images. Craig's still in there, right? 95% if I take my glasses off. Now I'm going to put on some props. Again, as I mentioned, we're not looking at the hair, but we are looking at the forehead and especially the eyebrows. So if I cover my eyebrows, you can see Tel's dropped 96, 97 cents, percent, excuse me, just 3% just from the eyebrows itself, right? Now, of course, we want to be able to detect people with a mask on as well. We do have the feature to detect whether or not you're wearing a mask. Right now it says no mask. As soon as I put a mask on, it says, oh, mask okay, you're wearing it, right? And you can see Tel's at 96%. Craig is dropped out. He's not showing up anymore because he's 2 down below. And of course, when I don't wear a mask properly, it says mask not okay, right? So here you can see with the mask on, Tel's 90%, just an eye, right eye going down, he's dropping in percentage there. So let me lower this down in percentage some. So right now, if you've seen it at 1 in a million, I can bring it down to like a fingerprint, which is 1 in 10,000, be falsely identified as me. But I want to bring it down even more. I'm going to bring it to 50%. So if you do 50% of a thumbprint or fingerprint, you get a lot of false matches, right? Because it's only a 50% match. Here you can see, you know, Craig's at 53. Anything below 70, we don't really consider acceptable. We need 70% or higher on that. So now you can see when I put the mask on, Craig is there. Well, it didn't drop everyone, did we? Yep, we did. Okay. So Craig is there and no one else is showing up here. put on glasses, and we really don't know who it's going to be, right? It could be anyone with that. Bring it down. We got possible matches now. Leo came up as a possible match. Now just a mouth. Hilda might be a match, but Craig is the highest one, tells 90% on there, right? And just with the nose, it can go for anyone. It's not enough to work from on that. Okay. So this is with the mask on, 91%. You got all the people enrolled. So let's show you how it works now. Let me bring it back up in preferences. We don't want to misidentify anyone. Show you on a group of people. So I'll add a video file. Again, we can work with any video, photo, or image. Now, in the first group of people that's going to be arriving in this video clip, only half, the first ones are not enrolled in the database, so all we can grab is generic information. I'll pause it real quick. You know, we got unknown males, females, their emotions, no mask on, age, gender, all that's being captured here as they come in. So you can get information on your demographics, who's coming in, how many people have come in for the day, what's the rate of traffic we've got coming in. All that information you can easily grab here. Now, if they're enrolled, we can gather additional information. Like Sean's been here 8 times today. His average dwell time is 1 minute 43 seconds. And if there's multiple cameras, I can find out where he's walking through there. Okay, he came in from camera 2, which is the front entrance. He left at camera 4, which is the back entrance. And in between there, he got captured in camera 6, 7, and 8. So you can follow his path throughout the whole process. So we can not only analyze a live video, but we can analyze a recorded video as well. So all this information is being captured and stored. In this program, we're only storing the people we identified, but you can choose to capture everyone's information. So when I go to export this, you can see I've got pretty much everyone in here that's been identified. You can see Sean's in there, Michelle, even Enya with half of her face covered, Ego's detected here, Quino, even with only an eye, we've been able to identify him, his age, his emotions, all that's in there, right? So all that information can easily be stored and shared with your team. Now that is with our FaceMe Security SDK. Now I'm going to show you a product we created from our FaceMe SDK. This is our FaceMe Security product. Let me show you one last item before I jump to that. We did have people come in and ask, well, what happens when people transition, they change? You saw how I change in age. There is a difference, but I'm still identifiable even from my photo from 1984. But what about someone who's in transition? They had major work done on themselves. Can you still identify them as well? There are some cases where it might be more difficult than others, but in most cases that can be done still based on transitioning and what's going on. So we've got Bruce here, which we all know and are familiar with, and he's made his transition. Here you can see we have images that we've enrolled him on. I'll go and show you those images real quick for Bruce. There we go. So I've got these images from the websites and enrolled him on these images so we can identify him. So we can see his younger image, his age at that time, right? I can then go in and add a different one of those images that we have, say one of him today, right? And you can see on here, not quick of a match because we have it set at 1 in a million for the preferences, right? So of course he's had some work on his cheeks, dramatically changed. It's not going to work on 1 in 1,000 either, but if I go to IE3, meaning 1 in 1,000, we misidentified. That one normally works, but I guess that one is a very bad image. So let me try a better image on this one. Here we go. There you go. So you can see Bruce Jenner, female, and 92% confidence that that is Bruce Jenner from that image right there, right? So even with the old images and the new images, you're able to detect them if you have the proper images for those enrollment, right? There he is when he was still before the change as well. And then here you've got him side by side. And this is right before he did the transition and after the transition. So again, able to detect them, all right? So let's go into now the FaceMe Security component that we created. So this is a product we created for security purposes. Again, I can log into this from any web portal as long as I have access to the internet. So my laptop, mobile phone, tablet can connect into it. You just log into there. Once you've logged into it, you can see for the visitors today, I've got a number of histories. I can look at any of those visitors. In my case, I'm on the block list, as you can see. I've been here 34 times. I got information about call-in security. Enrollment, we need just 5 images, minimum 1, maximum 5. When we capture a person arriving today, we get the date, time, we get the location, the lobby, camera location, health status. If it's a thermal camera, we can get even the thermal readings off of them. If it's not, we'll just get whether or not they have a mask or not. And then you get the confidence level on that. And all these can be searched quickly by date, time, cameras. If you want to have cameras, you can choose which cameras you want to search from, or events based on VIP, blocklist, stranger, thermal reading. Any of those can do it. Of course, you got the history of events that you can do it and export these to a file. The database is simple. We have VIPs, employees, block list. When you add someone like I did on the block list, again, all you need is the images and information. For employees, you can do a category. So if I want to search on all my security people, I can put them in one category. Same with facilities, contractors. So you can quickly and easily identify people by group. We have pandemic control, which I mentioned for thermal, but we can also detect you with a mask, which I've showed you in the SDK. So even if a VIP or blacklisted person or employee shows up with a mask on, we can still identify them. We can send out alerts via HTTP or via our U-meeting software, which Richard mentioned earlier, and I'll show you that in a few seconds. That's this guy right here. And then for the workstation, we can tie in via a video management system where it imports everything automatically just by a click of a button through VAS2, NX Witness, or Milestone, or you can manually do it. So you can have a workstation for each location where you have an office, say one in Florida, one in California, one in Texas. And this workstation would handle the cameras in each one of those locations. You can have multiple cameras for that workstation, and you can scale up. I'll show you how that is possible. So basically for configuration, you just put in the name, data center, RSTP address, put in the credentials, and then all you have to do is turn it on. As soon as you see monitoring on, it's then going to start looking for faces in the camera. There we go, monitoring on for the data center. We'll go to visitor today, and you'll see that it now starts detecting me. As soon as I put the mask on, right, still detects me with the mask on as well. And we've got all the alerts going on for the messenger as well. So now it's sending out these alerts that can be to your mobile phone, to your tablet, or anyone else who needs to be notified that someone on a blocklisted alert, or maybe a VIP alert showed up, or maybe someone was lost at the station, someone who has Alzheimer's and you need to find them. All these are ways that you can find those people, right? All these can be recorded, advanced, and stored where you want to locate them at different locations. We also have access control where we can use your face to open and lock a door. Using the Y-Sense detector, it would just send a signal to lock the lock plate or unlock the lock plate as necessary. And then last, we have a live monitor feature. What this allows you to do is, so if you have a security personnel at the front desk that need to monitor the different accesses, the different cameras, here you can see all the alerts that are coming out from the events or from the cameras events and alarms that are being generated. And you can choose which alarms you want to be triggered by, block list, employee, and all that. Easily and accessible. All right, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully it's not too fast. I'll stop this and answer any questions that you guys may have on our product. So it says, why would you not want to be able to recognize someone while they're wearing a mask? Well, sometimes people just don't want to use that extra resources, meaning they want to make sure that you are 100% who you are, like for a data center that you need, you have a government contract. A mask gives you like a 97 to 98% accuracy. We're 100% without that mask. So that would be one reason why you would not want to allow someone to wear a mask for identification.
There's also, if I may jump in, the case of people like, do we want to send alerts if somebody is not wearing a mask properly over their mouth and nose? If it's a facility where, for whatever reason, we don't want or we don't need to send that alert, and we cannot check it. So it's really a matter of convenience. It's an option.
Any other questions? Any concerns about security? The ability to.
Anybody in the room? No. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. So up next, we